What's up, guys? This is part 3 of the final analysis, part 3 of week 1. Very quick introduction. If you haven't seen any parts before this is a basically a VOD format that I uploaded from YouTube because some people asked for it. It's going to be very long, but it's pretty chill and nice, looking at the games with some input from some of the players as well. So I think it's pretty cool. That's going to be the last part of this for now. I'm not sure if I'll be able to do it in the week after PCS7 finishes. I have a lot of uni stuff going on and a lot of real life commitments. So if you enjoy this content, actually, make sure you let me know. So far, response hasn't been great, but I've still uploaded them to try and get them out there. So if you enjoy this content, make sure you let me know so I keep doing it. That's all for now. Enjoy the video. Which game is this? Quarry, right? Southeast Quarry. Yeah. Day 3, I'm off. Unlucky, Tixu. How does Circle Prio work in Miramar? That's a big question. Well, you have water ratio in phase 4, right? Is this ranked? This is PCS. This is competitive, you know, esports. That's an interesting circle to talk about, Circle Prio, right? So for any circle except circle 4 and 8, the only rule you have is the circle cannot center on water, right? So once you have this circle 1, you know that phase 2 cannot be centered on water, which in this circle I don't think it would even be possible. But let's check it out anyways. Yeah, okay, never mind. Circle 2 is so small, man. What the hell? It's really weird on Miramar. Like right now, for example, right? This circle would have a center on water. This is not a possible circle. This cannot happen. Circle can never center on unplayable terrain. And unplayable terrain is stuff that you can't move up or down or water in general. So for example, this is a cliff that you can't climb up, right? So you couldn't have the circle centered right on it. That's not a very noticeable rule though, with unplayable terrain like this, because yeah, the circle can't center on it, but the circle can center on this and this and this and this, right? So it's not very noticeable. It becomes more noticeable in circles where there's tons of unplayable terrain, like up here. So if you put a circle 3 in here, for example, then this area, it cannot center on. And this, and this, and this, for example, right? So then that would mean that our phase 4... Well, that's dumb. I shouldn't have picked phase 3 for it. But it can never center anywhere around the middle here, basically, because all those centers are on unplayable terrain. And then comes phase 4, which is the classical water shift, which will always eliminate first the water and then the unplayable terrain. So at first it's going to pick a circle that's not it doesn't have the water in it. One sec. And then it's going to pick a circle that has no unplayable terrain in it, right? And then it's where people start having different opinions. Porno model, oh my god. Coast curves have a role or not? I don't know what you mean by that. So you can see now, right? It's not perfectly accurate, but it's pretty accurate. Also, twire is bugged on Miramar, so maybe maybe the circle was actually further north than it looks here. But it went away from this unplayable, and from the water. If the circle has to decide, it's going to first eliminate the water and then the other unplayable terrain. And then where it gets really complicated is where if you have a phase 3 like this, right? Because there might be, for example, no possible zone 4 that doesn't have unplayable in it, right? And then it becomes really... Does it go to the less curved? What? It goes... I don't know why that would be a factor. You mean, so I think in general, it's going to try to have less water in. But there's also a theory that if none of the circles that the game generates eliminate all the water, it's just random. Thanks, Ante. Why would curved coasts be a factor? You want to press escape? Not going to happen. So this is where it gets complicated. Thanks, sugar crystals. And there's two like schools of thoughts, right? There is the people that say there's different rocks with different priorities. So they will say, for example, oh, it always goes away from this and this, but this is not that important. This is priority 2, for example. That's what some people say. And then other people will say, well, it goes away from the biggest mountains first. And other people say it takes the least amount of unplayable terrain. And in reality, I think no one's like 100% sure. So for example, I wouldn't be 100% sure where this circle goes. But I also haven't spent hundreds of hours analyzing. I think that this circle can definitely go east. Isn't Impala circles a good example? Yes, Impala and Power Grid circles are a good example of this. We talked about this much earlier in the Picado circle. Which we should probably just look at because it's an easy example. Phase 4, phase 3 is this. And phase 4 cannot get away from these mountains, right? So you have this is unplayable, this probably unplayable, this is unplayable, and this is unplayable. So there's no way that the zone can eliminate all of it, right? But the zone has the option to either go here, right? And only have this in, or go like here and only have this in. So my logic is it's not going to shift to a place where it has multiple amounts of unplayable terrain in. Like for example, that won't happen. It will rather eliminate as much of the unplayable terrain as it can, which it did by this circle, and it would have also done by this circle. Which is the reason why you see the overpeakers have a 2-2 split here. Because they think it can go here and it can go here. But they don't buy into the chance that it can go north, which no one in the lobby does. And everyone's sort of ready for it to go southeast. And obviously it's always going to go south because every phase to the north, like I just said, has both of these in. It's pretty complex, especially when you start factoring in that it cannot center on the unplayable terrain. Like for example, if you're looking at the orange phase 3, it becomes a lot more complex as well, I think. But it probably still goes south, I think. Because there just is no zone that doesn't have multiple amounts of unplayable terrain in it, except for the southern ones, right? So this, for me, this orange zone almost looks like a power grid shift, but it doesn't really fit. And then if you go up here, then I think the power grid shift fits in. Here, maybe, you know? Barely fits in. And I think that could work. Yeah. That's probably then the zone. or this, but I think it's this because it would have less unplayable in. But it's no exact science. It's no knowing for sure, you know. What were we looking at? Did we skip a game? Yeah. Okay. Let's go back to normal games. Thanks for the sub, man. We were looking at this game, right? We already looked. Am I high? Yeah, we just skipped at game 11. Okay, I'm trolling. Thanks for the sub, man. I appreciate that. That was not needed. FaZe Clan game is usually interesting. I found this really interesting. Looking at this on one. FaZe Clan has kind of closed this down a bit. And usually, you would have a team Southeast, right? And if it's a plane where Entropic comes from the west, they will usually also still rep to the Southeast here. But Foot has kind of went to the north, and FaZe has closed down the west a little bit. So it's completely empty down here. Until teams that really like to play their edges come in, like question mark, and try to sort of slip through the cracks. That quarter of the map stays completely empty. Ascend, force a fight here onto the fellas. Yeah, teaming reported. Right, everyone in chat. Right, put a Fields birthday man for Jimbo. Every single one. I want to see 146 Fields birthday mans right now. Or I'm ending the stream. God damn it, one Zach. That's not a Fields birthday man. There we go. There we go. Nice. Feels old, man. This is pretty interesting. Aw, I fucking love that emote. It looks so nice. This is pretty interesting because Ascent come in on their edge, right? And there's people in liquid compounds, and they're like, oh shit, we took a knock, we have to res. And fellas are like, all right, we'll build around them, right? And Ascent realize this. And they're just like, why we just crash? Why don't we just crash liquid and we reset? Like 2 of them drove out of liquid. One's on the yellows. We just crash. And fellas kind of get bitten in the back by their own strategy. And Ascend is just like taking a lot of very advantageous fights here. They're taking God damn it, James. They're taking a 4v1 versus this guy. They tag him on the roof, then they clear him out in the building. Then they basically take like a 1v2 versus Michael when he comes in. They trade it out again. And now they're in a 4v2, even though, or in a 2v2, depending on how you see it, but they can easily just get their reses. And their comms are pretty good in this fight too. That was a nice listening. And fellas just kind of thought they were quickly going to dominate these guys and just got completely punished. Because they split up too much. If they keep 2 guys here, probably a good hold. And this is one of these shifts that we call the Great Migration. Count the players that are not in cars right now. It's not a lot of them. Another interesting point in the early game here is Ents. In this exact circle, they have been camped by Heroic here. So this time, they're like, we're not going to let that happen again. We're crashing the warehouses all together. And it's like super nice. What's up, Chefix? You have a birthday emote? That's wild. And it's like, oh, I was like watching this. I was like, nice, you know? They learned from it. And then Nuki gets knocked while trading cars or something. And just like that, it's a 3v3. It's a 1-for-1 trade. It's not even that great anymore. They're sitting in the warehouses. And they've got to send it. They still get tons of free space here. Overpeak is drive by some random poor soul who just doesn't get out in time. He probably flipped his car or something. Phase take a pretty solid compound. Wu swing south. Question mark is going to swing south here always. Definitely drove bad. I mean, this is like... this area, everything that has the trees is like the worst area to drive on the map. Old cunt, yes. I don't know if... I feel like very usually... What's up, Louis? You would see question mark go here. And then do this. And this is what they like to do. I'm not sure if EB is what makes them stop here. Or what is. Maybe it's the fact that they see Navi in here. I don't know. Very usually you'd have them stop here. And then use this anchor to pull up. And try to conquer the south. Not this time. Other than that, I mean, everyone's taking their compounds. Ocean Falls is an interesting split. Foot has a good split here. That's pretty cool. And Circle 3 is just an absolute mess again. Right? As far southeast as it almost can. Again, Wanzak if you're still here. Phase 3 doesn't have the water ratio, right? But it probably couldn't do this, for example. Because it cannot center on the water. So if this is the center, that cannot happen. Yeah, I mean, we've seen a few instances, Memo, where their coach has literally griefed the game for them, right? So that's why, as well, just because of that tendency, right? So this is where it becomes a little bit of an odds kind of game. The Circle 3, it's not going away from the water, but the average Circle 3 will be tilted a little bit towards the north, away from the water, right? Because, yeah, sure, this circle can happen, but this can't happen, and this can't happen. So the average shift will be a little bit shifted inwards. If you combine if you make like a heat map out of circles, then like this area is going to be quite favored overall, right? Because the extremes can't really happen. The extreme shifts that leave this kind of area in, they can't happen. That doesn't mean, right, that the circle you get is the average circle, which gets proven by this here, right? So it's likely to go a little bit more north and a little bit more central because of the way that the water works here. Especially it's a little bit likely as well to go a little bit away from this, right? But it doesn't have to. So your odds only give you so much. So yeah, here's the question mark move that we always expect to happen. G Fuel? Didn't they quit with G Fuel because their old boss was a terrible person or something? I'm not sure. This is it's almost a bit late from Navi. You need Red Bull circles. Yeah, Ents once again just struggling on the edge, not getting anything going. It's not great. Ascend really like doing this stuff to like try and punish people on the edge and try and like, you know, they're like, oh, okay, we have someone drive by behind us. I'm pulling up. Just try to farm them. Chris pulls up here, tries to get an angle, you know. They like taking these fights, but sometimes it punishes you pretty hard, especially when like there's 3 different reactions, right? From 3 different players. And then Mika is just like dead in the water here. There's the Ents player getting farmed by Exalt. Overpeakers crash on Stardust. Not sure how much I like that. If you get it done cleanly, it's obviously cool. But you are kind of opening yourself up for the backfill, right? The question is, what does phase 4 do? And does the phase 4 allow you to hold out Navi or not? Twire, please. Let me just delete this. What is going on? Okay, whatever. So you know phase 4 is going away from the water pretty drastically. And I would say if it's a phase 4 that like pushes Navi into this dip and you can run at them, I'd say that's a win for Overpeakers. Right? And then if it's a phase 4 like this, you could still chill one more zone. Even in this one, you could still chill one more zone. And look for a phase 5 and see if that pushes Navi in before you, right? I don't know. Feels like a reasonable thing to wait for. Instead of taking the fight and then being the one that gets third partied. I need X-Lyran. I need Western to step up again. I need Scarf to step up as well. So yeah, Clib and Overpeakers, they die here. Navi clears them up. Navi spot out Silas here as well, which is rough for Austrian Force. Who make the send into the dip. And again, I think it's a pretty interesting example of just look at what question mark does. It's not a lot. It's really not a whole lot that they do here. But they just get their edge. And they take space on their edge. And when Alia leaves here, Aduzi even goes and backfills that. And they just take a lot of space on their edge. And don't really get contested for it at all, right? It's not like they're fighting for this space. They just get it. They just have it. And yeah, I don't know, NLT. I think NLT make the best play that they have here. It just doesn't work. They group up, they get close in their cars, and they 4-man send 4-man send, the safest spot in the circle. If you have radar, then you probably still go here, right? It's just the reason that they go here is because the compound team very often plays on top of these 2 hills, right? And then they play maybe in the no loot, or they play in the 1-stories. Like here, 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 and those 2. Like, why would anyone play down here? And it's true, but they lose 3 players on the crash. So Wu can obviously just go and punish them. Damn, I've gone through like 1.5 liters of water. So yeah, I think it's the right play. It just doesn't work at all. Footloose 1 on the car here. How does this player get knocked? From the blue? Is it Howl? No. Oh, it's Paints. That's rough. Howl have a fairly winnable spot here. The only thing that's really bad for Howl is that this circle isn't here, right? If it was a little bit more over to their side, then it could just end on this ridge line and it could be really winnable. This circle though, it's gonna end around the compound somewhere. But yeah, like Mimo said, they find ways to die. I don't know. Just does Western take a bit of blue damage there? Actually, just like 1 tick or something. So it's not like a full throw, they just get lasered. And now, obviously, with the knocks coming in, with the pull-up coming in from Austin Force, Exalt see this, Exalt hear this, and it's an instant go. It's pretty much the entire reason that Exalt is still up here, right? They know they're not getting a zone here. They're just looking at this stuff. They're looking at what is Howl doing, what is Foot doing, what's going on in the Wizard Tower. Do we have an entry on the compound? And then when this rotation comes in, and this rotation comes in at the same time, they know it's go time. They see like 1 knock, and they're already driving at the 1 knock. It didn't even matter that they got a 2nd knock. They still get like, take a lot of casualties, yeah. I think Paint even gets 1 as well. Are NLT gonna slow down? I don't know what they're gonna do. I don't know. Thanks for the follow here. That's why I'm looking at these games as well, right? Paint's naded 2 of them, I think. And then threw a molly or something. He got some pretty good damage in. For sure. Jim Norberto. Thanks for the follow. And yeah, obviously now we're gonna pull up here. Ling Kui. Oh, I thought it was King Louis. Oh. Clips on Twitter? Yeah. I mean, they get shot. 1 gets shot out of the car already, right? Oh yeah, no, they get tagged from both sides, and then Paints just fucks them up with a nade. I think you're right. You're right. You're right. Next circle, Navi's gonna have to leave. Obviously, FaZe is still absolutely chilling. Question Mark has to make a move. Wu has to make a move. Wu's move here is either the Wizard Tower or this. But with a guy in the Wizard Tower, it's really hard to go here, I think. And Question Mark's move, smartly so, is to wait until Navi's gone and then take this ridge. I don't know, Mir. I think NLT have what it takes. I just don't really know what's going on with them. They feel a little bit down on themselves sometimes. Like they feel a little bit lost in team fights, which is not what you usually see from them. So yeah. So Wu actually goes for the wizard tower. And this is the zone that fucks everyone except FaZe. Na'Vi have nothing playable here. Like this is prone and die. And there is nothing playable down here. And the push into the compound is really rough. Question mark smartly realized that there's a tiny bit of a ridge here. So they leave as soon as they can. Not sure if it's even worth for question mark to wait here. But I think it's fine what they do. Now Wu, they're trying to take some kills, I think. They're trying to do any sort of fight. Besto gets completely deleted. They can't really get anything going. I think like the only chance for Wu is to try and get a knock on Gustav and try and make a move in. Somehow crash this, but it's really, really hard. And yeah, from here it's pretty simple, right? Na'Vi make the crash. Na'Vi have to make the crash. But for some reason, they decide to crash this building. It's easier to get inside because of this bottom window, but it's also easy to get third party by question mark. But they still want to crash this. And it doesn't work out because question mark does just so much damage. Melman blows up. Doesn't even get knocked because he jumps into a blowing up car. And now FaZe knows that all they need to do is hold question mark. But they take every single building because they don't want question mark to do something like this, I guess. Vex is just holding here, I believe. And this is kind of shambles. The fact that they get in here, they get all of the reses, no one dies on the approach, and now one of them just walks up and kills 80. Is crazy in a way. I'm not sure how you defend that better. I think FaZe was just trying to be really safe and like make sure no one gets drive-by or anything. So I'm not sure how you do that better. But it just, yeah, it's rough. It felt really scary for a while. I don't know what they... I don't know if Diggory on the roof can do more than he can from inside. I don't think so. Gustav has like awkward angles. Like he has angles on this, but it's like tiny windows and stuff. But he also doesn't get a whole lot of damage in, I think. And 8C obviously doesn't want to get entryed, right? He doesn't want to get drive-by'd and ran down or whatever. So he's playing really safe around the stairs. But yeah, I think Aduzi literally just, or I don't know which one of them it is. Aduzi just walks up the stairs and shotguns him. And now it looks scary, right? It's a 4v3. But question mark doesn't manage to make a play. They don't manage to make a play on Gustav, which means they can't move anywhere in this like area, right? Because Gustav can just hold an off angle and hold a crossfire with Diggory. So they have to go into the house. And then what play do you have once you're inside the house? Nothing. Going around here would be a play maybe, but they're just so boxed in and they can't find a way out. They didn't move from this compound at all, no utilities. Well, they should have utilities because they didn't have to fight. Right? That's the thing. They haven't had to nade anyone the whole game. That's kind of the point. But yeah. If you look at them, plenty of util on Gustav. Plenty of util on Vex. Plenty of util on Diggory as well. I think Gustav throws quite a bit of it. It's just really unlucky, right? 80 is the guy that has 0 util. He's the one in the building that's gonna get crashed. Yeah, Fex nades, Gustav nades, and mollies. They do use their util here. It just doesn't amount to anything. Should have util from his teammates. Yeah. I mean, once this happens, right? 80's nading 3 times, by the way. He also kills Melman with those nades and stuff. In theory, sure, they should give him util, right? But that's not that easy, really. I just think, like, once we're back to this situation, right? It's a free win for FaZe. Once 4 of question mark are in this corner of the circle, Gustav is holding an off angle. They don't really have plain time to share. 80 has just thrown all his nades. And, oh no. 80 has just thrown all of his nades. They could give Gustav ammo. Oh, we can't see ammo. Oh, we can, right? He ended up with a vector or something, right? Yeah. Like, okay, original point. I need to pull my thoughts together. This is a free win. The question is, what can question mark do against that? And it doesn't feel like there's a ton. Maybe go around the back here. Because they need to avoid the off angle from Gustav. Gustav has like the small window here. And as soon as he peeks, Diggory can peek and is like super deadly. Right? And it's really hard. It's not, you can't really single out Gustav as well because then it's another crossfire. And you don't even know if maybe Fex is even here, right? So I think the only reasonable play is to try and go around the north for question mark. And they don't make that play. They try to just come out of the house and they step into that exact crossfire that we talked about. Where as soon as they leave the house here, they're absolutely mowed down. Like they don't even make it out of the door pretty much because of this crossfire. You can just see how absolutely deadly that area is, right? You have to avoid this. Nice. Okay. I don't know why you tagged me in that. Why you linked me this, Tiksu. Gonna have to make sure I cut that out for the YouTube. Alright, wicked. Alright, I will go grab some water. 1 sec. All right. Perfect time for good stuff X endgame. Nice. Take notes here, okay? Everyone that hasn't realized this, FaZe likes this rotation. On the beach. And they realize they're getting ratted. And somehow, they walk over Stardust here. Which should not be possible. And you can see Stardust's reaction, they're in absolute shambles. Oh, they don't even res. Rip. I'm not sure if this is Stardust like being ready for it. Feels like they're ready for it. At least like from this point onwards, from here or something, right? They're getting ready for it. This guy walks out to the rocks. This guy gets close. And they just get absolutely dunked on. Pretty crazy. Is there anything super interesting here? Northern Lights pre-driving. That is interesting. Phase 2 is very early to be on the beach like that. This is Austrian Force versus Polish Power. Pretty good gatekeep. Fellas, classic split on the edge. What happened to Oberbigus? Got walked up on by the Wu. Wu's just ready for it. Yeah. Read it like a book. Interesting. It's another team that does their homework. If the circle was a little bit further east, I'd expect you here. But I feel like you do this a lot of the time, right? You like this compound, you like this hill. Probably not every game, but fairly often. I wonder what Northern Lights had planned. Probably something on Cat Hill, right? They pre-drive here. And then they're like, oh, not going Cat Hill. Oh, not going compound. We go beach. I don't know about this. That just doesn't feel good at all to me. Kaza TV, thanks for the follow. This is pretty rough for us, and they basically lose one because they have run over a teammate here, and because it slows them down so much. So their foot is ready to shoot them. Yeah, and their game's in shambles. Rip. I just feel like this position is very survivable, right? The dips. But when they take it here, I feel like it'd be so much nicer to get Primos kill, right? Put a player here and play in this line, then play in this line. If the team in the compound knows what they're doing, it's a hard push, I feel like. You're on this ridge, they're in the compound. It's tough, I would say. Right? Yeah. Tomorrow, Ashlix. Any idea which team I should vote for? It's super hard, man. I think you should definitely make sure you get yourself some additional tickets by liking and retweeting my giveaway. Vote for Asia. Is Asia easy? Waiting to third party? Maybe, yeah. Good point. Could be. There will be big upsets. There's a lot of potential for upsets for sure. I like this for fellas. They're not scared to get crashed here. I don't know if it's smart, but they're definitely confident. They know about 4 mana Fostering Force. I think for the hill, I don't know. They will know better than I do, for sure. For the hill, I think it's going to be hard to hide. For ferry, you're definitely not seen. This is much higher. It's one of those situations as well, similar to the dips in Pachinki Fields, where I feel like, yes, like you can play, but then third party means you have to step up, right? And that means that you're way more visible from the other angles that can see you. So it's not that easy to get out of your dips and shoot people around you. Foot losing 2 here is an absolute disaster. That's just... that just feels bad. You have 2 guys still chilling here, 2 guys sending it, and they win the 1v2, but they get third party too much. You just need 4 people there, I think. Fellas need to find in the question mark. We have Overpeaker's win and ends on the top here. Didn't we? No. It's Austin Force, ends and win, yeah. Navi will outperform. Navi need a big performance to win. Not just an outperformance. But, I mean, there's still 15 games. Like, everything can happen. Oh yeah, it's Woohoo who gets the last third party. I don't know, like, this feels really solid, right, for Northern Lights, but it also feels like, what's your game plan from here? You have to push into Navi here, and it's gonna be so hard. Yeah. And I think a lot of teams are, like, on a very similar level, so it's gonna be super hard to predict what's happening. Laza goes pretty massive here, for Howl. This is just a bloodbath. And then I feel like the Northern Lights perspective coming out of here is just hard. It's just like, what do you do? First 2 days, they were killing it. Yeah. Were they? This is a free win for Howl, right? And now you're like, okay. Melman got the kill. Laza's down. Example just cleans up a tool and here, super solid. Doesn't take a risk, just cleans him up. 4v2. And then it's like, okay, we're down to a 2v2. What the fuck? They overpeaked pretty hard. Like both Uber and Melon are like pretty visible from both angles. And suddenly it's a 4v2. And then it's like, this guy can even peek into the res. And you think the game is 100% over, but Alia just completely claps him from like the bottom. Clutches out for Navi. The teams at the bottom will play spoilers for the teams on the top. Yeah. I think there's a lot of teams that still are going to try their very, very best. There's a lot of teams that want to show that they're a top 8 team, right? And not a bottom 8 team, even if they can't win anymore. Yeah, exactly. Winner of PCS. Okay, so for me, I just don't know. Like, what? It could be PB. It could be question mark. I feel like there's a good chance that Wu and Win or Die stay in the top 5. I don't know if it's enough for a win. I feel like I don't fucking... Okay, sorry. Got distracted. FaZe and NLT can both win, so can Overpeakers. And then it gets really dire, I think. Yeah, I mean, because of points, everything is possible. Fellas could win if you're just looking at points. But that's not what it's about, right? You're looking at the teams and you're thinking about who has the potential to play better than the rest of the lobby. Because if you're catching up like 40 to 50 points, then you've got to play a lot better. And I don't know. Navi can definitely come back. They felt pretty broken. For the esports, if they get a better coach, possible. Ascend on if they have like a massive day one, sure, but they need the momentum. They need to get a really good mental on. Overpeakers obviously have the potential. Northern Lights obviously do. FaZe Clan obviously do. I think Win or Die. Win or Die obviously do. The Wu can make it. Like, there's just so many different teams that just have the potential to make it. I don't know. It's so hard. I wouldn't want to bet on EU. I would always just use my pick'ems on NA and maybe on APAC. You have to do something special? Not really. That's the thing, Expo. The points are not far. Right? It's 15 games. Like, you're looking to catch up 30 points in 15 games. That's not much. That's not that crazy. Yeah. Lots can happen. Lots and lots of things can happen. It's just so hard. Hope to see more. It's Chris. Yeah, same. Are not both going to choke? I think that's a risky statement. I think Polish Power is not choking. Because they know that they're owning right now. And they know that they only need a top 5 to guarantee PGC. It's just a really good mental space to be in. Okay, let's have a look at what Kiliakai does here, because that was a massive question mark for me. Navi will choke? Well, they already have choked. If they just stay bottom, that's not really choking anymore, is it? Choking is throwing away a win. They've already set themselves up to lose. Whoa, TJ. That didn't work, huh? Should that command not work? Twitch? That's literally the command. Huh? No. It's on timeout. I just did it, Cybot. You can do both, but Twitch just fell asleep or something. I just did it, the same exact spelling. I copied and pasted it, and it worked. I don't know, this is super weird from Kiriakai, I think. Phase drive passed, and he's in the gas station. I don't know where his car was. I don't know if he crashed. He might have crashed. That could be a reason why he's like stood here for like 7 minutes. He didn't. He's just ratting. It's wild. This reaction killed me. Fex was like, what the fuck? Eating Pringles? Like, I just don't agree with that play. If you have a south circle, you have a fucking massive game as Ascend. I guess, did he not have a car? Abyss, thanks for the follow. Like, giving up one of your players this early, even for 2 kills, is so bad. Who would take control of the south side of the bridge, OP on the north, and almost lose a player for free. And there's your south shift, right? Car was visible to face. Yeah, but they're 4-man driving. Right? They all drove past you. You can instantly leave. Right now. You don't have to stand in here. It's just really unfortunate that FaZe actually lose 2 players for it. Because they know there's a guy, but they don't think there's a guy. It's like you play ranked, right? And you're like, there's no way that a guy would just sit in here for 5 minutes not moving. There's no chance. And then you run in and you actually die to him. It's tilting. Just bad at the game. Agreed. Stardust camping bridge again. No one comes. Circle goes south. Only plays ranked, so it makes sense. Heisenberg, thanks for the follow. How tilted is FaZe Clan about this? How good would their game have been from here? Like, oof. Pretty standard stuff, right? Navi swim as always, or like Navi cross early as always. With actually, it's not. That's interesting. Okay, it's not as always at all. It's completely different than what they normally do. They park a boat here. Holy shit! I'm leaking Navi strats. Let's go. They park a boat here. Play around the yellows in case it comes north. Alright, that's a 5-minute timeout. They park a boat here in case it comes north. They play around the yellows and they go south. I'm camping that boat next time. Alright, Jimbo. Out of Pachinki, silent pull up here. Swim around and sit down here. Trust me, I'm a coach. Cliffs east of the... Yeah. With a nade. You're like in here or some shit. That would be fucking fantastic. Quick, delete the VOD, guys. I can imagine it, yeah. I mean, it's better than fighting for this compound for the 700th time. I'm so tired of seeing these compound fights because they feel like they take so long, and usually it's both teams losing because everyone just moves past them. It's not like there's a much better play a lot of the time. It just feels rough. I mean, all you need to do is realize Navi is playing here in a 50-50 circle, right? And then you already know what's happening. How you punish it? I don't know. Question mark and Foot both coming in on the south. I actually thought that was one team because they're the exact same color. NLT swim across and third party this fight. I like seeing this kind of stuff where you realize that people are like a little bit unsure. Nobody knows what's really going on. Nobody really knows where to play. And then someone makes a call and he's like, we're good on me. And they drive back up here. What happened to fellas here? I felt like they were in a decent spot to just push out north here. Quizzy finds the first. Miracle gets shot on the back. Yeah, game's over. It's not that easy, I guess. Pretty easy if you ascend a question mark though. Basically just chill on the south side and vibe. This is super nice as well. Putting that anchor here and leaving the two players behind is really nice versus Polish power. Yeah. Austrian Force have a really good play here where they crash phase. Because they get the drive-by knock. Carries them into like a top 5 or something. While Foot and X fights. You mean Stardust? That's Stardust, right? Is this what you mean, TJ? I would say you definitely want to work on killing these guys instead. And then play inside the bottom. This is a super hard push. Because they have this Godridge here, Foot. That's really hard to push. And if you want to push around it, then you're opening yourself up to the whole circle. So I think Ascend's game plan is kill these guys and then play down here. Playing down here avoids Polish power shooting you a lot. And it avoids a lot of angles from question mark as well. So it's completely impossible to push in this way, for example. Smoked, yeah. It wasn't really a third party fight, but even if it was, I still think it's a bad push. And this is what Ascend does. And I think it's a good play. Gives him some kills. Exclamation mark fantasy is already now. I haven't changed my roster. And I can't really change my roster because my players got more expensive and all the replacements I could get for them kind of suck. It's just the problem that happens now, right? If the circle goes a little bit further east, This is phase 7, whatever. If it goes like further east and question mark have to move out, then Ascent can get second or even first. If it goes hard west and Foot have to move out, there's a chance. But the way it goes south means Ascent is one of the earliest teams to move. Foot find the drop here and some rocks, and now it's just like a pin from both sides. And everyone's just holding out Ascent. Pretty impossible. I had to change because I had Mel with, got me a few points. I'm not happy with what I have, but I think it'll be slightly better. Hard to say. I'm not changing my roster, but you also can't buy my roster, so I don't know what to say. Five-head with Western, I agree. Western is the one pick that worked out. And I think it was a good pick as well. He was just way too cheap compared to Iroh. I think a lot of people picked Iroh for the name and didn't look at stats at all. Wasn't even Kobo's pick. What do you mean? Memo, you can't pretend that every opinion that you agree with is yours. You stole him from me? No. What? You can watch the stream where I showed my fantasy roster. A good game from Ends. Let's go. Who's interested in this game? I think Overpeakers are interesting here, and Navi is interesting. Picked Memo and got minus points. F. Did Memo play a game? No, right? So Overpeakers forced their way into Stardust, into Foot. I think because they just realized that this is a split. Keep an eye on how they group up in their cars as well before the crash, to make sure that like they're kind of at the same page. But then Jimbo gets pulled up, gets cleaned up. And what I think is cool is the Navi pull up next circle. Everything else, pretty standard stuff. Where's Howl going? Huh? This is Howl. I'm not sure. They're probably driving at this compound. And then Jimbo is still there. So they group up with 4 to kill him. And then they're like, well, you know, we're pretty fairly central in the southeast. You know, we have a team north of us who has lost a player. We have a team west of us who has lost a player. We have a lot of info on the players around us. And we have, what, 30 seconds or a minute until the circle? Nah, you have like a minute 30 or something. Let's just drive to the other side of the map. What the fuck? Like, if Navi would have done this, right? If Navi would have done this, and then afterwards, Howl go back up here, I would have said that's reasonable. But they do it before Navi do this. EV crashed here? Rip. My phone keeps ringing. Okay, whatever. Yeah, that's a bit of a rip. Crashed and walked to the beach. Unfortunate. Ah, sucks. But yeah, this is wild stuff from Howl. I like the Na'Vi pull up into this. I'm not sure how much info they really have. Maybe this is just a read, but it makes a lot of sense for there not being more than one player here, right? And Iroh gets a lot of knocks, and Na'Vi almost lose 2 players for it, but they don't in the end. FaZe push in on Exalt. Exalt goes sit in the building with shotguns, which is pretty unfortunate for FaZe because shotguns are pretty strong. You have Austin Force versus fellas on the north. If some of the Knights left here. I think the most interesting part about this game is sort of like what you do if you're coming from the north and the west. Because everything here is pretty telegraphed, right? You play from the bottom up. That's it. You play from the bottom up. You play your top hill. You play from the bottom up. Play from the bottom up. It's all pretty simple. But if you're a team that comes in from the edges, this whole area is pretty hard to play. It's pretty open. It's pretty open to top hill and stuff like that. So it's the harder decisions, really. It's the harder plays to make. Ents get the kills here, but they also lose a player for it, which is rough. Question mark come in on their edge. They sort of just skip past FaZe. They have a doozy scouting this for them. Pull up at the bottom, but now they have a team behind them, and if they go a little bit further north, they'll have a team looking at them here. So they have to be pretty careful. They get one of Ascent. Ascent try to hold their edge. And question mark just wins their fights. Like, they've got a lot of people in their way, but they just win their fights here until the very end. And now it becomes an absolute cluster. Because if you're looking at this zone, right? Nothing here is playable. It's just like proning in a dip. But there's no other good dips around it either. Polish Power has angles on all of this. So everyone just has to go fight in this area, and it becomes an absolute mess between Win or Die, question mark, Stardust, Ascend, and Howl. And even Na'Vi is like, hey, can we play? And somehow, Win or Die is the team that wins this. When, yeah, it was looking. I guess they managed to just be the team on the edge the whole time. I thought they were pinched, but they're actually not. They just managed to stay out of the fight as well as they can, and then they clean up. Austin Force played this pretty well as well to survive this long. They managed to not get like run up on by Na'Vi. They managed to completely keep Na'Vi contained in this sort of box for a very long time. If you just look at this game pass, you know, Na'Vi is poking, you know, Uba is looking for angles, he's trying, he's looking, but they can never really make it work. They can never really get the play. And now when they finally start making the move, it's a little bit too late. And they get knocked, and then they get third-partied by the Wu and cleaned up. That's not that easy for Na'Vi. It's not as easy as it looks. Or Austin Force. What's up, Yan Lee? And now this is pretty damn good for Polish Power, obviously, because they've had this compound for so long. They have so much control. They just have to take care of Austin Force. And they do that like instantly as well. If you look at how quick these players die. And then they can just stretch out. And now they almost throw it. At the end here, it's like Maslek oversteps, knock and flush. And then if you look at the Polish power players, it gets a little bit too close for comfort. Kruni gets knocked, and I think Norcus gets the trade. Kapi is down to like half HP. Kapi's down to a quarter HP. And Norcus gets the trade and actually gets down to 1 HP as well. Like 2 players with 1 bullet from death. Pretty damn close. Oh, I get so tired towards the last games, guys. I feel like the quality drops off a massive cliff towards the end. What's up, Yanli? I'm pretty good, man. I'm chilling. I've got a lot of uni stuff to do, and I thought I would get this done before PCS starts again. But it always takes so long. Just looking at these twires. Pretty classic phase 1. A lot of super standard splits here. What's up, Krillhouse? This is like, you know, control the west side kind of splits. This is what we see FaZe do a lot in these circles. Get a lot of information out. And then they also have a position that might give them a free win. Then you have like the overpeaker stuff, which is take these two. Sometimes you see a team split this with the bottom, but I don't think that's that great. James tries to go for a free kill here, but has to actually be a little bit careful. What is this? Oh, is this the eraser? Oh, I didn't even know. Yeah, it's a classic. It's a classic phase. It's also a pretty standard Northern Lights kind of setup. To have like high ground and the bottom compounds. A lot of the time you'll see them even deeper in with battalions on the rock here, but maybe they didn't feel like splitting that much or something. But now is where it gets interesting, right? What's up, Swoop? This is where the circle goes back north. And we're basically expected to end up somewhere here. I mean, you can draw a little bit further, but basically sort of this is a standard area. This is a standard area, and this is a standard area. It's kind of where we expect it to end up. Polish power coming to Monte. And Northern Lights is kind of like ready to receive them. It feels like. Yeah, look at this. Four of Northern Lights. They realize this circle. And they're trying to hold out PP. It feels like. They're trying to get ready for a PP crash. But they're just not quick enough. PP just fly into Perfect X. Instantly take one out. Fly into the rest. Instantly take him out. 4v2. Fellas come in, third party. Game is ruined for Northern Lights. Just like, we saw a similar thing with Fellas earlier. Where they were trying to set up around Ascend, and Ascend just flies straight in. Sometimes, you know, brute force is the way to go. Foot crash into overpeakers. Doesn't really work out too well. And there's the next one. Now we know it ends somewhere around the valley, right? It could end like theoretically out here, but it's pretty likely that it goes very close to this crater just because of how central it is. So all of this top crater becomes pretty high priority because it's just, you see everything that happens, right? Austrian Force make a really nice play here as well. to not stay in their compounds, but to instantly aggress on this. Instantly get out, pinch on, take the first one for free, go take the 3v2 in the dip. Good angle from Silas, but he gets a little bit too greedy. Doesn't maybe know about Fellas. But it's a good play from Austin Falls to get proactive. It's just, they shouldn't have lost a player. And if they would have managed to keep, this with 3 players up here, then they would be a contender to win this game. Because what happens now is they want to take a fight versus Fellas, and Wu just backfills them for pretty much free. This is obviously... This is the Chris moment here. That he gets 3 of them is absolutely crazy. Now, question mark has this to play. Or I should say, they have this to play. Which is pretty reasonable. Playing up here is not comfortable, really. And playing up here is impossible, right? So you expect Exalt to fly down here or to fly in here. I would have probably preferred them flying down here. And you almost expect Wu to go for a recrash if they have to. But Wu want to play this side in. And Exalt want to take the fight on the north, actually. But now they don't get the fight on the north. They have to crash. Austin Falls recrash. And you could see Wu recrashing, but they feel like this is enough space for them. And with a zone like this, it is enough space for sure. If this circle instead, what is that, 7? I never know. Yes, nice. If that circle instead does like this or something, I mean, it would have to be the worst circle in the game, right? Because any circle that goes away from them, they have to take the fight into question mark, and it's not like an easy fight at all. Question mark has pretty good ridges, but it's still playable. It's probably better than trying to recrash this. Keep in mind as well that the twires bugged, so these guys are like more in here, and these guys are in here. Yeah, and they get the perfect zone, so they can just chill. They pretty much just chill, take shots at everyone, and wait for the right moment. And at this point, your main focus is not to kill these guys. Your main focus is to do damage to these guys, because they have to run out of their houses, while question mark has way more playable terrain. And they managed to do both super nicely. None of the teams is really able to focus on Wu at all, right? No one's really able to shoot them at all. Exalt is trying to work their way out. Question mark is trying to work their way in to try and kill these guys and get some kills. And it's just free for the Wu. All right. That was a long time.